let's just start talking about what we want to do in this podcast. So first and foremost, we want to create a podcast where we're talking about essentially, a number of different topics. Like first, our life, what we're doing real time, to kind of create, a listener experience around what we're building, Anahata, all of the amazing things that we're going to be doing on the land, all of the different programs we're going to be launching, all of the challenges we're meeting as a couple, as a family, the miracles that are happening in our life, and just giving that to the world as an opportunity to kind of drop into our experience. And then we will also talk about certain topics. And I think, right off the bat, they're going to be the taboo.
It is Scorpio season.
So sex is going to be a part of this podcast.
Oh my God, yes.
And, of course, sex and divine union and all of that's related to that path.
Uh-huh. I love it.
And I think parenting as an awakened couple with star children, what that's like. Anything else coming to mind?
I think that
Obviously telling our story.
Yep, the storytelling. I think talking about astrology is going to be an aspect that's woven in.
Yeah, I think what also would be cool is to share a little bit about some of the rituals and like magical ceremonies that we do, so that people can get a taste of like what that's like in their own life and how they could apply it in their life.
Exactly, yeah.
There's probably not a lot of people doing intentional magic and ritual with it. And so those that are listening could use, as a blueprint of how they, magic is a personal practice. It's completely personal. I mean, there's lots of books on it. There's lots of like ways that people can teach it to you. And frankly, I haven't studied much on it, but I think what is important to understand is when you do magic, you're really just tapping deeply into your creative side, connecting it with your faith and your imagination, your faith, and then your intentions.
That's a really beautiful way of putting it.
And then doing something cool with it, because it's all about offering. It's all about making an offering and calling in like the help in that offering and having the intention around all of it.
Well, I think too, magic is when we can visualize, when we can dream. A lot of times we do that. We have these ideas that come to us that we want to create. We want to call into our life. We want to have it work out in a certain way. If you can take that concept, that high idea, and bring it into a ritual, what you're doing, a magic ritual with elements, like elemental things, botanicals, candles, earth magic, elements, like all these different ways to bring it into form through magic, you're literally already creating a physical manifestation, a physical imprint of what it is that your heart is calling for. So even if it's not the exact way in which you're, let's say you're manifesting a house like we did here. We created the name of the house. We created sigil to go with the house. We found bracelets that were the name of the house at a crystal shop. Like there were ways in which the house had a form before the form of the house was known to us.
Absolutely. And that's what magic is about, is like, well, you're creating space to experience the reality right now, presently. And when you do that, it's essentially the key to manifestation. So magic can be used for, really magic is manifestation and all of its aspects. Rather, whatever you're wanting to call in, you're using, how am I trying to say this? So it's like magic, any magic that's performed is an act of manifesting something. But it doesn't have to be for things that you necessarily, physical things that you want. It can be for all sorts of things. But that's one, and we did that a lot with Anahata. We did that a lot with the house here. We did all sorts of things, and it's extremely powerful when you do that. So we got that subject matter. I think just like connecting day to day with. I would love to have Q&As where we can answer people's questions. Like they send them in, and we could do lives too, but we could have people sending questions and we can like go into detail on that question and answer it, and through our experiences and everything. So that could be a really neat opportunity as well. Yeah, I kind of just want to shoot the breeze with you every day with this. It'll be kind of fun.
I love shooting the breeze with you.
That wasn't supposed to be sexual.
I'm sorry. You did make me come like 6 times already today. Sorry,
it was one of my better days.
Oh, I love you so much.
It's good. It's good.
Oh, everything's sexual.
Okay. It's so funny. That was how I was when I was like 18, 19, 20. And now you're like 40 and you're like, everything's sexual now.
Well, women do have, like, they do reach, oh, God, you're making me cry. There's something about women in their 40s. There's memes about it.
It's true. Yeah. You guys kind of late bloomers.
From personal experience, okay? It's a thing.
It's nice though. I have to admit. Okay, so more about the podcast. It really is. We feel inspired to share our life with others because we want to inspire people, and I think that we were just 2 Mormons with kids, and we weren't like you're perfect Mormons, but we were pretty Mormon. And,
I was really good at being Mormon. Like going through the motions.
I still had lots of questions, and I still had lots of like things that I didn't like and things that I did myself. Like when we talked about not having the kids get baptized right at 8, and because we didn't do that, Emerson never got baptized.
Yeah. And
so we didn't have any of our kids born into the covenant, baptized into the church and becoming a member. So there were a few things that we were different about, but for the most part, we were just 2 Mormons. But it was the infidelity that really started to crack us out of that shell, and so we want to showcase and inspire others on how you can take really difficult situations that look like they just don't have a way through it, a way out, a way that's better without completely destroying it. And in a way we did do that, but we didn't destroy our relationship. We didn't destroy our family. We didn't tear it apart. And not to say that if you were to divorce or separate, that's destruction in a way. But I know that there's lots of families that want to level up, not necessarily dealing with infidelity, but just want to level up. There's people that want to level up. There's so many levels to life, and we can share our story and how we did things and how connecting in a union, how driving the union deeper into each other is a way of leveling up.
Yeah, the infidelity was a hard thing to go through. Brutal. And, it's something that in the mix of it, there were many days where I really wondered if we were actually ultimately compatible. But
Almost laughable, right? No,
Yeah,
right now.
right now. Oh, we're so compatible. In fact, the synastry of our birth charts is actually really quite remarkable. And the more that I've been learning about natal like placements, and then looking at that combination of who you are and who I am and how we combine together. Oh my God, it's like so good. But I didn't have that blueprint when we were in the thick of it. And there was a lot of like kind of white knuckling, holding on for dear life, like trying to like make it through to the next thing. There was a lot of help that came in unexpected ways, you know, through the plant medicine, through friends and community, also connected to plant medicine, like truly plant medicine, was revolutionary in helping us to create new neural pathways and understand that there's actually an alternative third path, right? We had like your path, my path. They seemed to be like kind of going like this. But it was like holding on to this idea that there could be this like middle space where we met.
Well, and that actually, here's what I was just thinking about. Like, there's a church teaching that like any two people can make it. You know, you've heard that before.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
but the truth is like everybody's compatible, or else unity wouldn't be real. And so, but some are easier than others because there's always that third alternative. Finding that third alternative is the harmony that exists between the two frequencies of two people. Okay. So there is a harmonic that exists between us, and finding that is where both of us are going to be thriving. Okay. Now, discharging has to happen because there's dissonance. There's energy, unconscious energy that's causing conflict to achieve that harmony. And so, yeah, like and so discharging the energy, finding that third alternative isn't meaning you're giving up who your identity. I mean, we have undergone just enormous changes in our personality and who we are. Much of us are still the same, but much of us has changed and activated and now online. But I would not say that I have capitulated or let go or said goodbye to his part of me that I really wanted. That I couldn't, that was part of me that said, like, I can't let go of that. That's part of me. I got to those points and I said, I won't let go of that. And so did you. Mm-hmm. And that's where the power comes in. Hey, this is who I am. I'm standing here.
Yeah. Now we're talking about what it feels like to tell a truth.
Right.
That's so fucking scary. There were moments when I claimed, oh, you know, like you said, I didn't want to abandon a part of myself that I discovered. It was through the journey of this like mixing pot of everything that like I began to actually discover who I am. And when I was challenged in that belief of who I am, I realized prior to that choice, I had actually been giving myself up.
Exactly.
And it was the journey of finding my truth and then like having the courage to speak my truth. And there were multiple times where you had the courage to speak your truth and you thought, fuck, if I say this to her, she's going to leave me. And there were times where I said, oh no, if I tell him this, it's over. We're so incompatible. There's no way we're going to survive. And it was those threshold moments of like standing on that edge of saying I have discovered my truth so intimately that I cannot not claim it now.
Right.
And if what I say ends everything, so be it. Now, it never ended for us. In fact,
well, the old way, what did die was the old ways, the old unidentified self, the old
the ways in which I had compromised myself. That's all that died.
That's what I'm saying. It's the not self that died. You know, as the yogis say, the not self. And so, yeah, the not selves will die. And then the third alternative, see, what Carolee and I have actually come to realize is that there is this already existing entity that is our divine union, the we in the relationship. That third alternative is an entity of its own, and when you come into harmony with it, both both sides of the both sides of the relationship thrive and are content and are deepening and deepening and deepening. And that doesn't mean that we are without conflict. We have our conflicts. We have like our disagreements and our little playful anger stuff. But even that in itself is just a way of continually discharging energy and finding that third alternative deeper.
I love finding those third alternatives.
Yes, you do. I mean, I love it too, of course.
I am
It's just
so charged right now. Okay.
yeah.
I love you.
You got work today, didn't you?
Yes, thank you. I love working with the fire and the aggression that I have consciously. You know, you talk about like the discharge of energies, and it's like, God, sometimes I just have this like baseline of the world's so annoying, or why does this not feel fair, or I'm exhausted and tired and overstimulated. I get a lot of overstimulation. I love our children, but like they're really stimulating for me.
Especially one of them.
No, all of them in so many ways. Okay, like let's not single anybody out.
Okay.
But
Fair enough.
But as I've like just accepted the darkness in me or the laziness, God, sometimes I just want to be so fucking lazy, and I cut corners and I just don't care, but I do. And then you criticize me and I like it.
Criticize or call out?
You kind of say, God, you're so stupid. And then you spank me. I just really like discharging the energy consciously, not being mad that I was lazy, like just accepting it and like provoking you to the point where you kind of tease me and play with me in that fiery way, that fire of anger that kind of like it's very activating and it's really playful.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels good when you spank me. So like sometimes I need that kind of level of discharge.
I guess we're just dropping straight into like what happens in a relationship here.
Well,
I do. I spank her. I have to like, she needs discipline. She needs to be.
See, I really love it. I really love that kind of dominating.
It's a beautiful way that we play, actually.
We play. It's playful.
And this is the thing that couples can do is they can play with the energy instead of like letting it sit and be like, I'm going to hold this against her because she didn't do exactly what I asked when, she offered to help and I said, hey, do this. And she didn't do it the way I was expecting. And so I can take a little bit of that like disappointment and I can spank your ass, or I can like bite you, or I can do something. And it's a beautiful way of like alchemizing the energy. So you have like every couple can find this way of like alchemizing energy within their relationship, even little bits. And it just keeps things moving through bliss instead of like, other things like where you're disconnecting. Cause like our pattern before was massively disconnecting. Like I go inward. Like my thing is like I go inward and I just pull my energy in and I'm just like, I process, inwardly. And she could always feel it. And I knew that she could feel it. And it wasn't always her, but, and most of the time it was like my own stuff, but I didn't know how to like, I guess just learning from my emotional upbringing and all of that stuff. Like the way I learned how to deal with it was to just pull it in and then like learn how to digest it until I could like reconnect with you. And that was put us in this cycle, this loop, which was identified actually by our therapist way a long time ago. She talked about this. I remember that. But now we just alchemize everything quickly. And then we have our moon days, so we could talk about moon days and how amazing they are.
God, I love
and like how we use Mondays for that. And just working through our energy and stuff. And like really a conscious couple must commit to continually do the work always. You're just always doing the work.
Yeah, and like finding ways to consciously play with all of the energies. You know, in the past, there was a lot of passive aggressiveness between us. There was like passive comments of like criticism or judgments. There was kind of irritation. We were both Aries sun. So there's this fire energy in us too. But again, like it's really liberating. It's been so liberating to be like, ooh, I feel fiery today. How can I play with the energy instead of like let it rule me into a space that like I lose control and I'm not kind, right? Like I find myself more kind to the kids even when I'm feeling feisty, when I can literally just be spanked by you and then it like releases that charge. And it
You're such a kinky fuck. You're so...
It's so beautiful to be, to like know that you're choosing all in to like the all of me. That makes
Very
me,
much so.
that reminds me of Egypt actually. Do you remember when we were on that bus driving during our Alchemies of Egypt pilgrimage? And I was
coming to Siwa?
No, this was before Siwa. This was like when we passed the monastery where Mary and Joseph and Jesus, like we were on that road. And as we were out on that road driving through the Egyptian country, we saw all these buildings that they were so unfinished.
Yeah.
And I sat there and it was like really triggering in my body, the unfinishedness of everything, the amount of trash and like dirt and like trash in the waters. And like, it's just when you travel the world, you see not everything is clean in a lot of these places,
especially Egypt. What a tragedy.
And so it was this weird thing, you know, I sat there on the bus, I looked out, I remember driving past this one village, and there were some men outside sitting on some chairs, smoking the hookah. Children were playing around, and there was like literal trash around their feet. And I was like, why are they sitting? This is like maybe my privileged American mindset too. But like, I was like, why are they sitting there not cleaning up the trash? They're just relaxing, having a good time. And I paused and I was like, oh my God, where do I feel like I need to like clean up the trash before I can enjoy myself? Like enjoy my life? So there was some reflection on that. But what really was transformational for me was when Leslie, as I was talking about this, I was trying to like see my own judgments and realize here I was just looking at myself, like what was going on. But I shared it with Leslie on the bus and she looked at me and she, you know, I shared with her how hard it was for me to see, like, why were these buildings unfinished? Turns out in Egypt, there's some different laws with like building permits and things that if the house isn't finished, that gives some kind of benefit, but also they live in family communities. So like they don't finish the top floors because then when people get married and come back to the home, you know, they then finish out the next floor for the next family that's going to stay there. So it's kind of like this constant holding pattern. And it feels better in my body when projects are completed. Right. So there was some of that energy, but Leslie looked at me and she was like, what part of the wild woman in you are you not loving? She like just sorted truth right to my heart of my own judgments about the trash and the unfinished buildings really was the parts of me that were too wild and too messy and too mean and too literally fucked up to like actually love. And I realized that I was being called on a journey to like love the wild woman in me. And there was a part of me that was scared that you wouldn't love that part of me. That if I got too ugly or too lazy or too whatever, too much of a hot mess, it would be more mess, less hot. The journey past that point actually showed me the complete opposite, right? My fears were not what happened, but there was some work that we had to do in integrating the imperfect parts of ourselves and allowing the other to love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, who is it that somebody told me early on in my journey, as I'm deconstructing Mormonism and I'm like trying to figure out new paradigms of reality and trying to like get a new way to look at the world, the universe, God, spirit, all of that stuff, and healing. And and somebody said, well, you know, um, that's like we were talking about the healing journey and like changing paradigms. It's like, well, it's all self love. It's just self love. And I was like, huh? Yeah. I mean, I don't know about that, but like blah blah blah. And like as that was years ago, and like now I can truly see how so much, maybe it is all of it 100%, but so much of what we've done, standing in our truth, allowing the shame of how we want to live to depart, the shame of how or like questions about how we want to have our relationship depart, and all of that just depart and leave us, has really been stepping deeper and deeper into self-love. And when you love yourself, when you love who you are, your nature, your infinite eternal nature, the fact that you are in a human body and that you're taking on that part of your identity, you're loving that part, even though it's like at times you feel like it's such an imperfect part of you, but you begin to love your humanness, and in that you begin to love other people so deeply. And so I've found that as I deepen my own self-love, that's where I can truly love you, where I can truly love the kids, where I can truly love life and everyone. Like one of the teachings that Aaron Abke, it's really not his teachings, but he professes it a lot in what he, teaches from Ra and his own stuff, is that I lost my train of thought.
You're talking about Aaron.
Yeah. I'm not even high either.
Well, Eros is a pretty...
Yeah, so Aaron talks a lot about the teachings of Ra, and we were talking about
self-love, honey.
self-love, and I've lost it. Dang it, I almost had it come back, but anyway, it really is this journey of self-love. And so we love each other, we love ourselves. That's how we deepen our union, not just with each other as a relationship, but we deepen our union with the world. Oh, I know what it was. Is that Aaron talks a lot about like when you enter that deep self-love, you actually have no ill will for anyone. And so like one of the things, and then we got to shut it off because I've got to go. I just want to mention is when you begin to operate from fourth density frequencies, which is 5D frequencies. These frequencies are union frequencies, so they're united. They're the Zion, seen eye to eye, hearts knit as one. The city that everybody loves each other, and it's all like happy go lucky, but it's actually true union, conscious union. Is that you don't hold ill will towards anybody because nobody's your enemy. Everybody's part of you. Everybody is a part of one great whole, and we can't disclude anybody. So, like when we talk about this time of the 4-year cycle of American politics and how much hatred comes up, how much people hate the other side, whatever side they're a part of, and they hate the other side, and they hate anyone that's a part of that, including other Americans, including their neighbor, including their own family members. They hate them because they have a different point of view. And I literally I was definitely operating from that for a period of time. I know it. I hated Obama. I hated John Kerry. I hated so many politicians for so long, even those that I voted for. But now what I see happening, what's going on is I see these people operating in their own life, and I don't hold a judgment for them. I don't create that type of space in my mind to like decide that one person's bad, one person's good. Now, does that mean that I don't see what's going on? I know what's going on. and I'm clear about where the world's going and what's happening in the country and the world and the way that there are systems of control. But I don't hold ill will or desire for anyone to die, or like I used to want to, like, how can we get this person to die? Because that would solve my problems. It's just like that's literally politics. People want, I mean, they're calling for the death of each other. You know, people are trying to kill Trump, and people are trying to say Callum and Tim, like everybody wants everyone else to die because that means that their side wins. It's just it's so stupid. It's the absolute most ridiculous way to solve problems is resorting to that. So anyway, when you step into 4D love because you love yourself, you no longer have those types of feelings towards anyone. And you just know that everybody's on their journey. They're moving at different paces. They're moving through different viscosities and trials and different growth periods based on their attenuation to the cosmic clock. And so, that's the other thing we're going to talk about. Well, actually, we're going to talk about magic. We're going to talk about ritual. We're going to talk about play. And we're going to talk about the cosmic clock, because those 4 pillars are the pillars of our offering, of our soul offering.
Of our life.
Of our life. Well, it's how we live.
I love that. I want to just end with one final thought about self-love. There's a lot of like, am I saying the word right? Misnomers. About
if you mean by it the way it's the name,
like, am I using it correctly?
Misnomer is like you're calling it the wrong name.
Sometimes I don't know what words to use. What I'm trying to say is this: self-love is viewed often as a day at the spa, or like a bath, or chocolate and wine. That's not the kind of self-love that helps you have unity. That brings...
That's a releasing self-love. That releases the stagnant energy in your system.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
But what we're going to be diving into here is going so deep inside of yourself that you see where trash is on the floor inside of you, where the buildings are unfinished, where you're just a fucking hot mess. Can you love the monster that you are? The monster doesn't become so scary anymore when you like learn to love that shadow part of you. When you learn who you really are, what you really desire. And then what's even more like empowering and beautiful is to be in a union with somebody that you can say, hey, today I'm going to introduce you to my monster. Like, can you love this monster? And then to be received in love for the ugly parts of you. It's so liberating.
Yeah. Humanness is full of the whole gamut of vibrations. You know, like we have to accept everything that we're capable of is within us. And so we have to accept every part of ourselves. And it's hard. It's not easy because it can be ugly. Some of it can be real ugly.
Yeah.
But okay. We're excited to share so much more with you guys. So here's a little taste of what's coming.
I love you.
Love you too, baby.